It was the first time in 5 years that a UN refugee agency plane landed in war-torn Mogadishu. The Somali capital was abandoned days ago by al-Shabaab, an armed group which had controlled Mogadishu, but which wouldn't allow food relief from UN agencies. Monday's flight brought tons of food and other materials to the starving city, the first of what Somalis hope will be more regular aid deliveries.
The cargo plane was carrying more than 31 metric tons of shelter material and other aid items. A second flight is scheduled to arrive on Thursday the 11th, and a third one should follow next week. UNHCR says that it needs funding support to continue to replenish its emergency stocks inside Somalia as they are being rapidly depleted.
More than half of Somalia's population, about 12 million people across the Horn of Africa, are in dire need of food aid, especially children. According to the UN, nearly 30,000 children have died in the past 3 months, and more than 600,000 are suffering from acute malnutrition. Bad as this situation is, UN officials fear that it could get worse.
We are seeing now that the proportion of malnourished children who are severely malnourished is already at 50%. This is an extremely worrying proportion, because normally that would be around 5 or 10%.
The blame slinging has begun on the famine, with some blaming bickering Somali warlords, others blaming a weak and inconsistent Somali government. Still others, however, blame Western nations such as the US and the UK for inaction and being indecisive on how deep their involvement should be. Either way, Mogadishu grows more crowded by the hour as word of food deliveries and al-Shabaab's absence spreads. Many of the new arrivals are near death.
We have some that are in an okay state because they've only come from about 50 kilometers away. But some who have come from farther, the Bay and Baidoa areas, they're very weak. They're very thin, and some of them have a lot of illnesses.
Sporadic fighting around the capital has grown heavier in some areas since al-Shabaab left, and African Union-backed troops have taken over some of their abandoned strongholds. The United Nations has asked the world for $1.4 billion in aid and has so far received commitments for less than half of that. Hank Flynn, Press TV, New York.